I, you know, this is gonna be interesting because like I got the camera situation fixed. Apparently, I found out that Apple does not play well with others.
Oh
Um,
well.
so I had to get a third party app to make it all to
Mm.
tie it all in together and make it all work. My title is definitely clickbait, but we'll see what happens.
Well, let me go share it.
Uh, oh, oh, oh. All right. All right. I did my part too. My dad is gonna be like, "Man, you said you was gonna be on at 7." Yeah, I know things change. It's pop ups. It's pop up podcast.
Man,
All right. Get it popping. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the podcast that is excited to see that it's getting dark later and later. The earth
yes,
is healing.
yes.
Um, Daylight savings, I think, is about 40 or so days away. It's another episode of It's a Black and White Thing with A1 and A Ward. I am one half of the dynamic duo. I am A1. You can check out every episode of It's a Black and White Thing by going to the podcast app of your choice, searching for It's a Black and White Thing or Brains and Bars, all one word. You can also check us out on YouTube by searching Brains and Bars, all one word. Same for the social media: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'm never calling it X, it is Twitter,
Ever.
at Brains and Bars. Whether it's the social media, whether it's the YouTube podcast and YouTube, rate, review, subscribe, hit notification bells, share as much as possible. Same thing for the podcast pages, share and subscribe. And as you can see, I got my guy with me, A Ward in the building. What's going on, man?
Tomorrow is my favorite holiday of the year,
What's that?
Groundhog Day.
Really?
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like Groundhog Day was a thing when I was a kid, but like now when it like pops up, I'm like, what? Why, is that really like a thing?
I
Does the
mean, I
news
think
like
it,
still like see if it sees its shadow, and they still do all that?
yeah, it was a thing. It was a thing when we were kids because like for us, we still believe that the like in this the Easter bunny type thing, like, oh, if the groundhog sees its shadow, then it's gonna
Six
be,
more weeks
6 more weeks
of
of winter. And like we grew up and understand that that was just, propaganda from big meteorology, right? Like that was just propaganda for them to
yeah,
try to trick us. So but nah, like I guess I kind of pay attention to it for the novelty of it. I don't really care. I don't
yeah.
really care, but I
I
try to
just
pay
saw
attention
in the
for the novelty.
I was setting up a work event on my calendar, and it was just like Groundhog's Day. I was like, wait, they actually like put this on like legit things, like to let us for what? For what? Golly.
Yeah.
No, but I'm
So,
doing good, man. I got my car washed today. It's been a long time
man,
since I had my car washed. It's in the mid 50s, low 60s. Like, if it could just stay like this until spring, I would love it.
I man, I listen. I count down the days until my son, to his birthday pops up because, like, if I get there, then I know that for the most part, all of the foolishness of winter is gone. And we're in a great place at that point. So I definitely feel you on that. This 50, 60 degree weather, like I don't even barbecue, I don't grill, but it make me want to learn how to grill just so I can go
Man,
outside and enjoy it. Like, and I don't
put
even,
on
like I
put on
said,
your
that's not my
thong
thing.
sandals. Go stand by the grill.
You know what? I am almost out of that comfortable Carlos era. I don't really rock the thong sandals as much anymore. If
Really?
it get crazy hot, I will, but I'm always in like some shoes these days, stepping
Okay,
up my game a little bit.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
Yo, as you can see from the title, man, we got a quick little show going for you tonight, man. Talking championship Sunday, reacting to what we saw this past weekend. And I want to say this before we get into all of that. I just want to say one thing. to the fans on social media, to not Detroit. I feel like Detroit fans have handled this pretty well, but
Mm-hmm.
like to you Buffalo Bills fans, to you
Ravens fans.
Baltimore Ravens fans, like Eagles fans, from like any whether you play the Chiefs or not, because this is not just the thing that centers around the Chiefs. This happens a lot. To you Niners fans, because some of y'all was complaining about, I've seen some of the complaining about Super Bowl, was it 53 when you played the Chiefs, 52, 53, whatever it was. Hey, yo, y'all got to stop crying. Y'all got to stop the crying on social media, man. Y'all, listen, your team lost and you looking like bigger losers than the people you root for. You out here
Mm-hmm.
blaming the referees. You blaming conspiracies. You blaming Taylor Swift. You blaming everybody except your team who let you down. Cut it out.
Cut it
Cut it out.
out.
Like dog, like I'm at the place now where I'm ready to start just blocking. First, I'm gonna call you stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid. I'm gonna call you stupid. Then I'm gonna block you because I'm sick of your incessant whining. Grow up. Grow up. Take your loss like a man or a woman and move on. It's over. They don't pay you. You're not getting paid for this. You're not getting any bread off of this. Your squad, well, maybe if you put some money on the bet, that's your own issue to deal with.
Right.
1-800 bets off. All right? Tighten up. I'm sick of y'all, man. Y'all getting on my nerves. All this crying all the time. And look, if my team lose on Sunday in a couple of weeks, you not gonna see me on here talking about what ref did what. Now, let me say this. I have said that there is a referee problem in the NFL. And to be fair, there is. However, a referee is not determining whether you win or lose a game. The players do. All right. I just heard I watched North Carolina. I'm a North Carolina fan. They lost the game on a questionable call at the
I was
end.
getting ready to play the audio of you complaining about that. I'm just kidding.
Listen. You can see what I said on social media. I said, look, good win for Georgia Tech. Carolina played careless basketball in the first half. They
Yeah.
shot like below 50% or right around 50% from the free throw line. That's why they lost the game. Not
Yeah.
because they didn't call the foul. Yes, it was a foul. But
Yeah.
I think one of the players in the post, who former players for Roy Williams, said, look, you guys got to play well enough so that the referees don't matter.
Right.
Like he said, he would say that the last things he would say to us before we get off the bus, play well enough so that the refs don't matter.
Because very rarely do games end like that Lions Cowboys game, where maybe you might be able to be like, here's an actual play with like hardly no time on the clock, like that is a deliberate, you know what I mean? Very rarely do games end like that. We're not doing this whole, well, did you see the hold on this? Well, did you see the leg whip on that? Well, did you see the no call here? Like, come on. We're not doing
Yeah,
that. We're
man.
not
Like
doing
I'm not trying to relitigate these one or two plays because you mad your squad lost, man.
that. Right.
Your people got to be better. That your
Because
team lost the
because
game. The refs didn't take
12
them
hours
serious.
before that, all you was doing was talking about Lamar Jackson is the MVP. He's the GOAT. He's the this, that, and the third. So you mean to tell me somebody so good at football can lose a game based off one call like that he ain't that good at football? And vice versa if it was the same way for Patrick Mahomes.
For sure. And look, I've already seen Niner fans complaining about Eric Fisher held Bosa on the big play to Tyreek Hill. Man, look, bro, the Niners were up 20-10 with like 10 minutes left in that game. If Jimmy Garoppolo hits Emmanuel Sanders on a deep pass, we're having a different conversation. That play doesn't matter. If Chris Jones doesn't knock down two passes to a wide open George Kittle, we're not talking about that call. That call is irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. Tighten up, bro.
Players make
Like,
plays. Players make throws. Josh Allen has a wide open guy in the end zone, but Chris Jones pushes his man into Josh Allen. That's why that didn't score. You know what I mean?
dog.
Same thing goes for for Lamar Jackson and him a lot of those missed throws, a lot of good defensive back coverage. Just a lot of. I mean, don't talk to me about the triple coverage, the Isaiah Likely. No, it's a bad throw.
It's a bad throw, bro. It was underthrown. He was not going to be able to work his way back towards the football. Let's get into the game, man. I just want to get that out the way because it seriously it annoys me to no end to see fans trying to relitigate like as if Roger Goodell and the NFL officiating office are going to go, you know what? Raven 2297 stupid has a point. We need to go and we need to go call the teams, bring them back to Baltimore. We're going to start the game from the fourth. No, they're not doing that, bro. You lost. It's over. Move on. But let's dwell on this loss for the Ravens and talk about this game real quick. So Kansas City versus Baltimore. You had Kansas City. I thought the Ravens would win the game because I thought their defense was going to be too much for Mahomes and the Chiefs, and I was wrong. I bet against the Chiefs back to back times. Probably one of the only times in the history of this show where I have bet against them three times. The Niners in the first matchup in the Super Bowl these last 2 weeks, and each time Mahomes was like, oh, "Okay, I see you. I see
Mm-hmm.
you. Yeah, I got something for you." And look, I'll give credit to the Ravens defense in the second half. They played exceptionally well. They
Mm-hmm.
shut them out in the second half. I think maybe one or two first downs the entire second half. They did what they had to do. But listen, we talked about statues last week and who deserves a statue outside Arrowhead. Spags, if they end up winning a Super Bowl, Steve Spagnuolo might deserve a statue outside of Arrowhead just for the work he's done in this year because the defense has been the one leading the way for this team the entire season. The game plan was amazing. Shutting down that offense, one of the highest scoring offenses in the league. You're talking about the presumptive two-time MVP, and the defense did that thing, man. What do you think about that game?
Yeah, I thought, it's funny. It's funny after the first three drives, it's like this is a classic playoff game waiting to happen. And then after the first three drives, I think there's like one touchdown and two field goals the rest of the entire game. And it's just like you love to see guys march down the field like that, touchdown, okay, tied it up, touchdown, okay, 14-7. Like that's fun football. But there's also some fun football in watching guys like Chase Lamar Jackson around, and the runs that are normally 22 to 27 yards end up being 4 to 6 yards. Or guys making great angles on Gus Edwards, in the flat. Like there's fun in seeing that, as well. And like you said, I think what it was is I think people knew that the Ravens defense was number one, but I think people still questioned if the Chiefs defense was the second best defense in the NFL. I think people, they've flown under the radar kind of, even though statistically they've been up there. And I think that defense, we've talked about it all year. I mean, every week when we're like, are the Chiefs in trouble? Are the Chiefs, as good as last year? Do they have the weapons? We've always said, listen, this offense is not what it was last year, but this defense is much better than it was last year. And we talked about that. And it's like, man, when they say defense wins championships and different things like that, it's those types of games, man. We didn't never play games before where somebody else could get you that win, and it wasn't Patty Mahomes. That's what you saw. You saw Patrick Mahomes not have to be Superman.
Although the first two drives,
The first two drives, man, was
the
the
boy
cape
took
on.
the cape was on. He
So
was he
first
was
off,
suited and booted.
Kelsey had a cape on too, because that man had hands for days.
Listen, man. So shout out to Kyle Hamilton. But let me before I get there, shout out to 83. Shout out to Country Boy from Kingdom Cash. They were when everything. Shout out to the homie Reese Nichols too. Those three people, when it seemed like everything was falling down, the sky was falling apart. Those three were people on my timeline consistently saying, "We're gonna be all right. We're gonna be all right. We got a top 5 defense. The offense is gonna figure it out, and we're going to be a threat. We're going to be a threat this entire season." And when I wasn't believing, shout out to the homie Dre, shout out to Mama Ward in the building. Like when I was not a believer, those guys believed. And the defense, like I'm pretty sure somewhere Marty Schottenheimer is looking down and smiling because this is the offense that never was there to supplement the defense, to do just enough so that the defense could say, hey, y'all did y'all work. We got y'all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so yeah, like that was incredible work, man. Jordan Reed, Justin Reed coming up and like you said, sticking Gus Edwards, getting him from a loss, getting a sack.
Yep.
Trying to think even
Tranquil played great, man. He was all over the place. Shout out to the kid, I can't pronounce his last name, they got the strip sack. We didn't end up scoring off of it.
Charles Omenihu.
But we didn't end up scoring off of it. But man, just that, like you said, I think I watched it. Who was I watching? It might have been Speak or something like that. It might have been Nick Wright. And it's like they're so used to bullying people all year. Like the Chiefs like hit them in the mouth and was like, yo, you can't bully us. Like you know what I mean? Like and it got to the point to where the Ravens started playing carelessly with lack of discipline. And like you could see that they were shook. Like they were shook. And it was like at home. And it's like, yo, like you can't treat us like you treat everybody else. And I think that's a lot of it. People don't talk about that culture of winning, that experience. And every year we go into this, you know what I mean? And it's like, bro, there's a reason why if Tom Izzo gets to March Madness, I will never bet against that Michigan State team. You know what I mean? There's a something about it when you've been there before, you know, and now the Chiefs are that team. They're the team. Hey, we've been here before.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, sometimes I do think that championship DNA you can buy into that notion a little too much at
Yeah.
times. But with this particular team, because you have so many of your core players who are still either at their peak or coming into their peak, right? And when you think of like Mahomes, right, he's still in his peak. Kelsey's at the top of that. Maybe he's starting to dip a little bit. Chris Jones at the top of his peak, your best players, right? And then you have the younger guys like Bolton, Snead, McDuffie, Rasheed Rice, right? Pacheco. When you have that championship DNA, I do think Baltimore came in and thought this was a coronation, right? They had spent, I think they broke a record for in terms of amount of time spent in the lead this entire season. They had
Mhm.
dominated the best teams in the league. They had beaten the Niners. They had dominated the Dolphins, right? They had beaten, if you were a top team and you play the Ravens, you lost.
By like, yeah,
And
10 or
so
10, 10 or plus, I think.
yeah, yeah. And so I think they thought they were going to come in, like you said, bully them, punch them in the mouth, and they were going to punch their ticket to the Super Bowl. And I think they thought it would be fairly easy. I mean, even some of the comments of I think it was Roquan Smith that was like, "Well, Mahomes put his pants on the same way we do." Yeah, that might be true, but when he
Yeah.
suit up, he not just like anybody else that you
And I'm gonna
face
tell you
this
this
year.
much: when he put his collar shirt on, he got to take them rings off so that he can get the sleeve, so he can put the cufflink on. You know what I mean? So he
For
don't put the
sure,
shirt on the same way as you because he got to take the rings off. Okay, so
for
know your role,
sure.
jabroni.
And I do think, like you said, as I think right before the drive where Lamar throws the pick in the end zone, I said in one of the group chats, I mean, I'm like, yo, like Lamar is pressing. Like he's not taking what's there. He's trying to make a big play happen. He's trying to hit a chunk play. And maybe it comes back to bite him, but he's got to settle down. And then, like you said, triple coverage to Isaiah Likely, who I mean, I get it. Isaiah didn't see the safety coming from over top, right? He just saw he had leverage. I'm open, and he throws the
Yeah.
hand up. But yeah, like I think they were a little bit too
When
overconfident.
he threw the
And
hand up,
also,
I said, man, A1 wishes he had these other guys around. That one time where he played defensive back and that guy threw the hand up on him. So
he threw
A1
the hand
wishes.
up. And what I ain't had no over the top safety help. Nothing.
Let me ask
Nothing.
you this. Let me ask you this because I think that there might be a psychological or um, I don't know, an advantage, right? I imagine if I'm a young guy that's playing with Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, Andy Reid, right? I'm playing like I'm playing like I can't let these guys down, right? Like I can't these guys like I don't want to be the team that lets Pat down, that lets Andy down, that let you know what I mean. This is what they're used to. So I'm playing almost out of desperation and a little bit more togetherness to say like we're not going home without leaving it on the field because I don't want to be the guy that's like, yo, that was the end of their run or their dynasty. You know what I mean? And then you got on
Yeah.
the other side of the ball, you're like, these guys that are hyped, like we want to get Lamar what he deserves, a Super Bowl or whatever. But I think it's a little more loose, and I don't think it's as like a intentional, you know what I mean? And I might just be a psychological thing, but I can just imagine like some of the young guys that weren't on the, even the rookies that weren't playing for the Super Bowl last year, or some of the guys that didn't play, and it's just like, yo, no, like I'm looking in the face of guys like Mahomes, Reed, and Travis Kelsey. They're like, we got this. Don't worry about it. We're gonna win. And I'm feeding off of that energy. Whereas you're looking at Lamar and you're like, yo, he's pressing. He's pressing. Coach is like, well, we got to call. Well, we got to call. You're looking around and it's a little bit more frantic.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, and I think they highlighted that during well, no, actually that was the other game, but they highlighted the disparity in kind of like playoff experience, championship game experience between the Lions and the Niners. But yeah, I think that does matter because the Chiefs have been in enough situations throughout this run where they know if they get down, the game's not over. Like they're always in every game in part because they have that quarterback, right? And they
Mhm.
also have those players on defense who've been in these situations enough. When you are a team like the Ravens, again, when you spent so I'll say this as a quick aside. I always thought that Brock Purdy's never been in this situation before where he's down and he has to come back. I always felt that was a little overrated. And I still, to a degree, believe that it still is, right? Because if you are able to simply dominate your team in quarters 1 through 3, where the fourth is just easy for you, I'd rather take that versus you're down 17 or you're down 10, and now you got to make this frantic comeback to save your season and win a game. But I do think there is something to the idea of, hey, we have been, like I said, we've been dominating teams all year. We're beating all the best teams all year. Oh no, now we're down. The offense isn't getting anything. You're they're getting, the Chiefs are able to get 8, 9 yards, one first down, bleed a little bit more clock, then punt the ball away. Now they're backing you up at the 1 yard line. Now you got to drive. Like, that stuff plays with your mental. And I think I
Yes.
mean, granted, Harbaugh has been there before, but I don't think the Todd Monken has college experience on big stages, being at Georgia.
Yeah.
Um, but like, the only other person I can think on that Raven sideline as a player is Odell. And Odell is from all accounts, Odell is a great leader. Everything I've heard former teammates say, he's a great leader.
I thought you moved out of that area. I hear them sirens.
No, I moved into
Oh, you moved into
listen.
the area.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Listen, no,
All
well,
right.
listen. I'm edge of the city. I'm
Oh,
like
okay.
I'm like they say I'm in the suburbs, but the hood is literally like I can stand from my porch and see the hood,
Okay.
quote unquote. So nah, nah,
Okay.
nah. Them sirens still running. And it's Kansas. You're
Nah,
in the
nah,
city.
nah.
Oh my gosh. But nah, like, I think there's something to that
So yeah,
to that.
I agree. So when you say it's a little bit overrated, when you're like they've never been in this position before, I do agree that's a little bit overrated. What I will say though is if you have been in that position before and you failed, and you're in it again, it's not overrated because man, that's in the back of your head. You know what I mean? Like they're like and so I've been up at plate, with the bottom of the ninth inning and struck out, and then another game came up there, bottom of the ninth inning, thinking the whole time, don't do this again. You
Don't
know
do
what I
this
mean?
again.
Like, and so that's why I like
Yeah,
when I tweeted, Emmanuel Acho has said, he's like, analytics don't measure this. Boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? Analytic, the pressure, you know what I mean? Of all right, we're down 3 scores now. All right, we're down, you know what I mean? It can't measure that. You know what I mean? And
for
you're
sure.
pressing, like you say, Lamar Jackson, a hit, a this, or oh, my tackles are getting beat, boom, boom. Analytics can't measure that stuff. That you know, then
For
so
sure.
so that's whenever I'm like, yeah, but if you haven't ever been in the situation before, yeah, I mean, I think you're not like, he has no experience here. We don't think he's going to be able to do it. I mean, he has no experience to being bad at it yet either.
Listen, man. Like, salute to the Ravens. It's a great season, but I want to say this so we jump into this NFC game. I still feel like we're not giving enough credit to Kansas City.
Yeah,
Maybe it's because I live here, right? Maybe it's because I live in the city. But I said it last week that this is a dynasty. Regardless of whether they win this game or not, this is a dynasty. They are one bad offensive half away from five straight Super Bowl appearances. They're to this point, they're 2-1. Their season still to this point has not ended unless it was either a championship game or the title game. Patrick Mahomes, if he hung it up after this game, is a first ballot, no brainer, unanimous Hall of Famer. And yet I still don't feel like, I feel like in the past couple of days, or as we went throughout this week, that we spent more time, that these big talk shows have spent more time talking about Lamar Jackson or Dan Campbell than talking about the Kansas City Chiefs and what they have accomplished. I tweeted this at the conclusion of the game. We thought we would never see another dynasty like the Patriots. Now, granted, this is early, right? So the Chiefs have to sustain it, but we
yeah.
never thought we would ever see anything like what happened in New England ever again. And we are in a place where Bill Belichick and Tom Brady got up off the throne, took their scepters, went to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and said, the throne is now yours.
Hmm.
And they sit on the throne for the foreseeable future. Like, they are inevitable right now. And I don't know if you're the Ravens, you have to be sick, because if you don't get them, if you couldn't beat them this year, when are you going to beat them? So like I said, man, I hope that if the Chiefs win, which I hope they don't, if they win though, I really hope that a lot of time is spent not talking about Kyle Shanahan or Brock Purdy or the Niners and what they did not do, But I hope that the majority of the time is used to speak about this new dynasty that we have in the NFL.
Yeah. I think two of the most important things, I mean, not playoff game, but just period, is one, those first 20 scripted plays, coming out and punching a team in the mouth and being like, yo, this is going to be a game. That's always huge. You come out, you go 3 and out, you're on the road. You know what I mean? Any kind of stuff like that, it's just, it could be, the Chiefs ran those first, 20 plays perfectly, perfectly. And then the other two is defense making plays and getting turnovers. You know what I mean? And that's what the Chiefs did. Sure, they scored 17 points. They came out, punched them in the mouth, set the tone, was like, we here to score, we here to play. Let's go. And then the defense was like, oh, by the way, we're going to take a couple of these possessions from you as well.
Man.
And that's why you have to credit, Spags, you have to credit Andy, you have to credit that offense for that first half, that defense for the whole game, outside of, I mean, if you sack Lamar Jackson, his escapability is just, I don't know. He hits Zay Flowers on that, but if that's a sack, we don't even know if the Ravens score a touchdown all game.
Facts. Shout out to this comment from the homie Dre. They are one bad half and a D4 helmet from 6 straight Super Bowl appearances. Not eating. Listen, for all that Tom Brady and the Patriots did, they never did this. They went to 3. They went to 3 and 4, and then there's like a 10-year stretch where there's nothing. Right. So I mean, man, like this run is unprecedented, man. And like I said, I really hope that next week, when we get into Super Bowl week, that people really give Andy Reid. Shot Brett Veach. I was critical of you all year. The offense still isn't perfect by any stretch, but you put together a team that was good enough to make it to this point, right? You use the Tyreek Hill team to trade to build the defense up, and you have players. McDuffie, all pro. I don't think Snead was an all pro. Probably should have been an all pro.
Probably the penalties probably what got him.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously you got Chris Jones. Listen, Greek JJ Watt, man, George Karlaftis. He is maturing and getting better, right? You talk about Shamari Connor,
Nick
Bolton, Snead, Gabe, Drew Tranquil. I mean, man, like this is a masterful job from top to bottom for the organization, and I tip my cap to you guys for the work that you've done, man.
Definitely.
Anything else you want to say about this game before we jump into this NFC?
No. Let's
game?
go.
All right, let's get into it. So, NFC Championship game, Lions versus Niners. Listen, man, like that game took a lot out of me as a fan. Like, I really, listen, I think DNA should say this on pay-per-views. The streets need a body. Like on Super Bowl Sunday, I need a body. Like I need a blowout so I can either just be like, man, look, good season just wasn't good enough where I can start celebrating. Because I can't keep doing this with y'all. Like y'all done gave me heart attacks 2 straight weeks in a row. Down 4-7 at the half. They run off the Niners run off 27 consecutive points before finally at the end the Lions respond. Too little, too late. And the Niners move on to to the Super Bowl. Let me ask you this. If you were a Detroit fan, I almost wish I could send this link to Jesse and have him pull up just to give his perspective on this. But if you were a Detroit fan, would you feel like, given how the season ended, would you say that this was a successful season for the Detroit Lions?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Yeah, this is a successful season. Am I happy with how it ended? No. But just because I'm not happy doesn't mean it wasn't successful. They came on strong at the end of last year. I think they won like 6. I don't know. Last season they
6 or 7.
6 or 7 in a row. And you just knew, you're like, yo, I think the Lions are going to make that leap. Well, guess what? The Lions made that leap. Whether how they lost, they made that leap. They made the leap that says next year, hey, there's probably going to be, the division. They're probably going to be the favorite to win the division. They're probably going to be, you know what I mean? Like, this is a good team with a good coach. But no, I mean, it just sucks because of how they lost, It's just like, that's the toughest part about it. In your mind, you're like, if I lose, man, I want to go down swinging. And they swung. They just swung early, often, and not, I mean, I don't know. Then I don't know. And so that's what's really, really tough about it. Just with, anytime you lose and it was right there, you know what I mean? that's just it's really really tough. But he has a completely successful season for Detroit. Yes, most definitely.
All right. So I know like you think that I am king overreactor. At halftime of that game, I congratulated our homie Jesse and said, look, congrats, man. Y'all going to the Super Bowl. It's been a good run for my squad. You're like classic A1 overreaction. I'm like, bro, it's not an overreaction. And I would like to take this time to prove my point that it was not an overreaction. The Niners never truly stopped the Lions. The
Right.
Lions didn't execute, right? There are two drives where they truly stopped them. That's the second time they went for it on fourth down and the fumble that set them up in the red zone basically for the touchdown. Um let me ask you this. Let's get into this fourth down discussion. What if you were in Dan Campbell's shoes? What do you do up 24-10 and then when you're down 27-24? Do you go for it both times?
Absolutely not. I kick it both times. I kick it both times. And the reason I brought up that topic about analytics and you can't measure the heart and all that stuff is because we're talking about a possession here. You know what I mean? We're talking about a possession. Like, bro, we're talking about 3 possessions instead of 2 possessions. I'm not talking about making it 16, where, okay, 2 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions. I'm not talking about making it 13-10. I'm talking about a whole possession. I'm talking about 2 minutes of the clock, 3 minutes of the clock. You know what I mean? And so it's like in that point in time, it's like I know you're feeling yourself because you're up, what was it, 24-10?
24-10, and then the second time it was 27. They were down
Right.
3. The
So I know
second
you're
time.
feeling yourself and you like, hey, let's put them away early. But if we keep it in a buck, there's no such thing as putting away a San Francisco 49ers team with that many great players and a team that has been to the Super Bowl before with that coach. There's no like real putting them away early. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if there's a whole half to play, like we're not talking about some scrubs. We're not talking about, hey, the Steelers who snuck into the playoffs and Mason Rudolph when, we just want to, kick them in the teeth and be like, hey, cruise from here. So it's like, yo, you go up 3 possessions, then 27-24, you kick the daggone field goal, my guy. I was just telling you, when it's tied now and it's back to tied instead of down by 3, and your team is a little like, okay, cool. Now all we got to do is win the last 8 minutes of this game. You know what I mean? Now we're not chasing it. Now that boom, boom, now that pressure and everything is not there anymore because we tied. It's 0-0 for 8 minutes. You know what I mean?
Facts.
Now, here's my only thing. I wasn't as familiar with the woes of the kicker. I guess he's not the greatest kicker.
I guess from like 40 and out, he's like, it's a coin flip, basically 50-50.
Okay. So that the whole time I'm thinking like, why are they not kicking these field goals? Now, when somebody brings up like this guy, is it Bagley or I don't know.
Badgley, Michael Badgley.
He's not the greatest kicker. I'm like, okay, I gotta factor that in a little bit. You know what I mean? Like on if it's a coin flip, and I got but for that first quarter, bro, the first one, no matter what, that first one, 24-10, I'm kicking that field goal every freaking time. 3 possessions over 2 possessions every time. That 27-24, I might have a little bit better look at that one if it's a long field goal or whatever, and we moving the ball and we ain't got a lot of time left. You know what I mean? Might, but man, I can't believe that first one. That first one drove me nuts.
Listen,
drove me nuts when the Chiefs didn't kick the field goal.
I didn't mind that. I didn't mind that decision because you were trying at that point. You were trying to, I don't want to say put the game out of reach, but you talk about that pressure and that heart. I think they were really trying to put the fear of God in them. Because if they would have went up at that point, what it would have been 21-7? If they would have been able to get that touchdown, like you would have put the fear of God in them for real. And they really would have started pressing at that point because that would have been their biggest deficit of the season. I don't think they had ever been down that big in a game. And you're at home. Now the crowd, the other part of this, right, is you feel that nervous energy from the crowd now because now they're panicking. And so that is messing with everybody on that field.
My thing is this. If it's not a yard and it's not the Eagles, you know what I mean? Like, that's just how it is with me. Bro, 2 yards, 3 yards, that stuff is not easy. It's not an easy run. You know what I mean? And you don't want to pass it because so much can go wrong. Tip ball, stumble out the snap, drop pass or whatever. So everybody's there for the run.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that's the thing. I don't understand why they didn't run it, why they threw it both times, because
Yeah,
like the Niners were getting destroyed on the ground.
yeah,
I mean, getting 10 and 15 yards each time. So I don't get why they just didn't run the football.
yeah.
Like you got Jameer Gibbs, you got David Montgomery, you got two capable backs, you have a really good offensive line, and you have a defensive line that is struggling to stop anything.
Now
So that
that's
was my
just
thing.
two of the questionable Dan Campbell decisions because the timeout and the running the ball was the other one, right?
Right, running the ball. Well, some people look at the decision to not go for it before half and kick the field goal. He was at the 4 yard line. It
Oh
was
yeah,
like 4 seconds left. I didn't. Again, I thought that was I agree with you. Right. To me, the right decision is even if Badgley's a coin flip, the analytics were saying that basically it was a coin flip between the two. It wasn't like it was heavily skewed either way. So everything was a coin flip.
mm-hmm.
Right. 24-10, okay, go for it. You don't get it. 27-24, you better kick it. You better kick it now because it's like basketball. Shout out to Sue Sir, free to
Yeah,
Wade. It's like basketball. Sometimes when the team or your best player is struggling, sometimes you call a timeout and you run your go-to play to be able to get an easy bucket or to get your best player to the free throw line just so they can see something positive happen. Just so they can see the ball go through the net and try to build up some confidence. At that point of the game, the stadium's going crazy. They've come all the way back. You need to get a tie game just so your team can see some points get on that board.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so shout out to Dorsey. I'm not gonna read that comment. I will show it on the screen though, because I'm a nice guy. Uh, but anyway, um, but yeah, like to me, you take the points because if you make that second field goal, now you get the ball back with the chance to tie it. Now, if you know, well, we can't even say with a chance to tie it because if they score that touchdown, Dan Campbell's going for two. It is listen. I was really proud of myself and really kind of mad that I didn't make the Dan Campbell doubling down on 17 joke like a month ago when I made the same joke on the show. I saw it blow up several times on social media, but like that's just I understand that's who you are, but I think you can't treat this game as if it's just another game because it's not. He acknowledges this in the post game when he says, I said to my team, I don't know if we'll ever get back to this point again. If you don't know if you'll ever get back to that point again, then you can't just have the same, well, all my problems look like, what is that? If the only hammer toolbox is a hammer, then all your problems look like nails. Like, no, you got to go get in that toolbox and
Yeah,
find a Phillips screwdriver. Go get an Allen wrench when it requires that type of thing, right?
it's like
So
like Shady McCoy was like, he was like, look, I get it. Like we all, this is what we did to get rich. You know what I mean? This is what we is. I stuck to the ground. I got in the room, and I'm rich now. I'm here. I'm where I've had. I don't have to gamble and do the things anymore that I did to get here. You know what I mean? If they're
yeah,
gonna cause me the possibility of losing when I got to where I wanted to be, you know what I mean? It's like
facts.
you don't have to be that you know. And
You have to be that
like you
reckless.
said, like that's just at what point is it just so self-centered and egotistical or whatever pride, I don't know what you call it, this is how we play, this is what we do. And it's like, bro, some of the smartest things you can do is allow your opponent to make a mistake. You know what I mean? Put the ball back in their hand. Who knows? You get a fumbled snap, you get a, you come on, like so many factors, and
And
you want to
listen,
just take everything in your hands because you think you always got the right call. No, bro, take that mother to overtime.
listen. Jake Moody, the kicker for the Niners, has missed either an extra point or a field goal kick in, I believe, 3 straight games. So the Rams game, the regular season finale, he missed a field goal and an extra point. The divisional round, he
Yeah,
missed a field goal. And in the championship round, he missed the field goal. And when Moody came out, when they drove that first drive of the half, and it's 24-7, and they send Moody out there again, and somebody on Twitter put up a poll that says, do you think Moody's going to make this kick? Are you confident he's going to make that kick? And I went, nope.
nope, nope, yeah,
And so I wanted them to go for it in that moment because, again, as a Niner fan, I'm like, bro, I have no confidence in this guy. But I have to give credit to Kyle Shanahan. He maintained confidence in his kicker to say, hey, you missed the first one. I'm sending you right back out there. I could go for it, and that could ruin your confidence for later down the line. But
Yeah.
and a rookie kicker at that they drafted in the third round for some reason. That's another story for another day. But he made the kick, and then he made every extra point and every field goal subsequent after that.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes, again, just showing that faith in your player is enough to give them the confidence to come through and get the points and make the kick that you needed. So to
Yeah.
me, he should have showed confidence. So let's talk about Brock Purdy right quick. So ever since Cam Newton's game changer, game manager comments, there's been a lot of discussion and talk about Brock Purdy and whether he should belong in the same conversation with Mahomes and Allen and Lamar and the greats of the game today or whatever. What was your assessment of his performance overall, not just second half, but overall in the NFC title game?
I thought he was poised. You know what I mean? I thought he stayed poised. I thought that he played well. I don't think that I don't think he played exceptional. I wouldn't think that he played exceptional, but I thought he stayed poised. He played well. And he like what you said, like Kyle Shanahan, he stayed poised. He threw his kicker out there. He's like he took upon the traits of his coach, and he says, "Look, I got the guys out here that's going to make these plays. You know what I mean? And I'm going to go out here, and we're going to be efficient. We're going to be effective, and we're going to go move the ball down, and we're going to score. You know." And when somebody's doing that, bro, when somebody's just so consistent, it just drives the other team crazy. And that's one of the reasons why Detroit self implodes. Because it's like, yo, this guy's not bothered by us. He's just gonna go down here and score. Like, we have to, we're up, we're winning. Why are we the frantic ones? You know what I mean? And cool,
Yeah.
Brock Purdy just moving the ball.
Man. So his second half was phenomenal, right? First half
Yes.
was uneven, but the entire offense was uneven. It
Because of
wasn't
the
just him.
scrambling, the scrambling, and just the making football plays. I mean, the 50
Dog.
yards rushing, I will say that the second half, it was, I won't say it's night and day because I don't think it was terrible in the first half. The
Oh
second
no,
half,
I mean it was kind of night and day. It was kind of night and day.
really,
It was kind of night and day.
yeah.
I mean, just call a spade a spade. Call a spade a spade. Nah, but I mean, the play like you talk about, the play where he's dead to rights in the pocket, he eludes the rush, he eludes more rushers, and then he finds Juice on the sideline who tight ropes it and makes an incredible catch, right?
Mhm.
To keep the drive using his legs. I mean, look, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. The play to Ayuk, I mean, lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, because
But
it wasn't a great pass.
it wasn't. He overshot it.
Yeah.
And I give credit to Vildor though, because he cut off Brandon Ayuk because Ayuk was going by him. He just cut off his path. And he was in better position to make the play. But the ability, I find it ironic when I think about what Ryan Clark said about Purdy the week prior, where he said, well, the hardest thing I had to do all year was pretend that he belonged in the conversation with the Mahomeses and with the Allens and with the Jacksons. But then when you look at Brock in consecutive weeks, he did the thing that you claim that those guys who are in that top tier elite conversation could not do. Right? He led his team down and got them the winning touchdown, something Josh Allen didn't do. He stayed poised, even though the chips were down and things were going against him, something that Lamar Jackson didn't do. I feel like it was a really telling moment in the locker room after the game where Nick Bosa is talking to Brock and he goes, bro, how do you do this? Right? Because even his teammates are like, how are you able to keep it together when it seems like everything around you is going bad?
Right.
And he's not talented. He's not going to be as talented as those top tier guys. However, if you can make plays when the team is when the team calls upon you, and more than just a game manager of just take care of the ball, but no, when you can make the throws into the tight windows, when you can get the yardage on the ground, when you can keep plays alive and find your guys on a scramble drill, you don't have to have the athleticism of a Josh Allen or Lamar
Look at Brady. I mean, Brady was he was never the most athletic or the most, he had it here. He had it here. He had, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, again, I saw a quote from Jet York, the owner, where last preseason, Kyle Shanahan goes to him and says, I think our third string quarterback might be our best player, the best one on the team. Now, he and Jet York he goes, well, I don't love hearing that,
Right.
right? Given what we gave up to go get Trey Lance. But he trusted Kyle because I ain't gonna hold you. Like internally, I'd have been like, yo, you might the way this season goes, it might be your last, buddy, when you're coming in telling me that.
Yeah.
But again, like Brock Purdy, I put up here a little bit of a clickbait title. He's elite question mark. He's not elite. I don't think he's a franchise player yet because that's something you have to prove over multiple seasons to me for me to say you're a franchise guy. But at least for the Niners and this current iteration of the Niners, he's the guy they need to lead their team.
And he
Would I
can
take
win you a
other
Super
players
Bowl.
over him?
He can
He
win you a
could.
Super Bowl.
He could win you a Super Bowl, which
Mhm.
is again, this all comes down to the fact that he was drafted. He's the last pick of the draft. If he was drafted where Dak Prescott is, we're having a completely different conversation.
Yeah.
And we cannot quantify in our minds how a guy drafted at the end of the freaking draft is good enough, regardless of what's around him, to
Mhm.
be able to play well enough to get a team that far. And it's just
Even
astounding to
though
me.
Brady, even though, you know what I mean? It's just like, yo, we've seen it happen before. We see it happen a lot.
But again, even that comes down to Bill Belichick is a genius too, because
Mhm.
Brady didn't play like this at the start, right? Like he made plays when you needed him to, but he was forgive this analogy. He was closer to Tim Tebow than he was Brock Purdy at the beginning of his career. He was truly a game manager. Hey, don't screw it up. Get us into good situations. Get us about 17 to 20 points, and we'll let the defense handle the rest.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So I mean, like I again salute to that young man. What's up? What's up, pops? Like salute to that young man. Like he played, like I said, second half 13 to 16, 174 yards, a touchdown, 49 yards rushing. It's incredible football, and I hope whether win or lose, the discourse around him is not going to change. But if win or lose, I hope that people start to just say, look, he's a fringe top 10 quarterback right now in terms of his play. Maybe
If
not
if they,
talent.
if they lose, like he's not Garoppolo, y'all. He's not the Garoppolo that lost the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? He's not.
Listen, I think he's made 19 starts, and I said this, I think on the last Tuesday show. The first time I ever felt like he played like Jimmy was the game against the Packers, where I was afraid. Where every time he went back and cocked his arm back to throw a pass, I didn't know where it was going.
Yeah.
I had no I was super concerned every time he threw a pass. I'll say this: the defense is still concerning to me. This is 2 weeks in a row. You probably no, not probably. You should have went home. You should have lost both of those games. And the defense, they got again. It's better. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. But they made the plays when they had to. Got a little bit lucky, and they were able to come back and win the game. Listen, don't go into the Super Bowl and give up 21 in the first half to the Chiefs because I
Yeah,
don't know.
we're not the ones to come back on.
Nah, nah,
But
nah, 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 nah.
if y'all put it together offensively and defensively for 4 quarters against the Chiefs, I would argue that you're the better team. You know what I mean? Like you haven't yet, and so it's almost like one of those things. Like we should have went home twice already. We're gonna have to put it together for 4 quarters, offense and defense. You know, and I would say that with the players you have, you know what I mean. Now coaching and quarterback, we got two of the most important things in an edge over you guys. But it's just like like if they put it together, they're gonna be very difficult to beat in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see what happens, man. Y'all listen to what y'all think, man. Who y'all got in the Super Bowl? Chiefs, Niners, for you Vegas people, and not just because the Super Bowl is in Vegas. I mean, you gambling folks. Let me know who y'all got on the spread, money line. Listen, I would take the Chiefs on the spread personally. If I wanted to drive over to Kansas and place a bet, I will not. But if I were so inclined, I would I'll put 100 on it.
What they got
I
plus
feel
two and a half.
that no, I think it's less than that right now. I think it started out as 2.5, and it might be
Mm,
down to like 1.5.
mm. Well, let you
So
cash at me. I'll put the bet in for you. Just send me the cash out.
nah, man. I think my betting days are over, buddy. Like it's not in me to do it no
So you
more.
got a prediction? You got a prediction for the
We're
game?
gonna we're gonna say that. We're gonna say that. We're gonna come back next week. We'll talk about that. I want to talk about the NBA and does the NBA have a scoring problem?
Yeah.
And we'll
Have
see.
you seen the breaking news since we've been on?
Nah, what's that? What's up?
Joel Embiid torn meniscus. Yep. And
Mm,
what was the other one? Steven Adams got traded to the Rockets.
really?
Grizzlies trade Steven Adams to the Rockets for Oladipo and 3 second rounders.
I didn't know you could even trade an injured player because he's out for the season.
That's what I'm looking at.
Interesting. You on point. You on point. That's a real thing.
Yeah, so
Well,
I
I
don't know the
mean,
torn meniscus. I'm not familiar, but I assume sounds like it's probably out for the season type thing, right?
nah, meniscus could be
6 to
anywhere
8 weeks.
from I would say 4 to 6,
Four,
but
6. Okay, then okay.
he would not be eligible for
Yeah,
all
any
NBA
MVP, all that.
and
Yeah,
MVP, and so that's another discussion we have to have because I personally am not a fan of that rule. I think that
I
rule
agree.
is a bad rule. It's not to me that should only apply toward games where you are load managing, not
Yeah,
towards injuries that you can't control like this one.
yeah,
Because it's affecting people's money. Tyrese Halliburton can only miss 4 more games. And if he does, he's going to be out of all NBA consideration because of the rule.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, man, let us know what y'all think, man. We'll be back next week to kind of preview more of the Chiefs and the Niners, talk about who's got the upper hand in regards to defense, special teams, positional, all that type of stuff. Give our predictions, talk about what's going on in the NBA because we've ignored it all season because of football.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see what's going on in the world of battle rap. I will say this as we close out. Listen, man, y'all complain about YouTube drops. I get it. Y'all normally speaking of one league when you say that, but there are a lot of leagues. Shout out QB Black Diamond. You versus Bangs got announced. You got I'm gonna say coffee. She's got a couple of good battles back to back. But official Capo out New Orleans, they starting the league. They got some popping, right? So y'all about to get a lot of YouTube drops, man. I hope y'all tune in. I hope y'all support, and I hope y'all watch. So that's our
And what we
time,
don't
man.
support is we don't support top 50 lists without a ward on it. So if you're watching this and your top 50 list doesn't have a ward on it,
I didn't. Was that a Let's Talk battle rap list, or was that just
Mhm.
a generalized list?
Nope, that was a Let's Talk Battle Raps list.
Shout out to France, man. You're not MMG, man. You're not his manager. I told you, you're not his manager. Because if you were, you would make sure he was on the top 50 list.
What are we doing, France? What are we doing, bro?
It's up for you. When we see you, it's up for you. It's lit.
Facts. I'm upset.
All
I'm
right,
sad.
man. Please remember, you can check out every episode of It's a Black and White Thing by going to the podcast app of your choice, searching for It's a Black and White Thing. That is It's a Black and White Thing, or Brains and Bars, one word. You can also find us on YouTube by searching Brains and Bars, all one word. Please rate, review, subscribe, share, comment, hit notification bells, all that good stuff. You can also check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram by searching at Brains and Bars as well. Until next time, it's been a Black
And white.
thing, man. We'll holler at y'all next week. Also, I'll drop some information pretty soon, but we might have a special interview happening next week as well. Just need to make sure to lock that in. And until next time, man, we'll see y'all. Y'all be easy.
Peace out.